At the end of the day, I don't know whether we're sometimes too harsh on Juventus, but hey, listen, I'm too harsh on Antonio Conte's Inter, so I'm gonna be even worse when it comes to Juve, considering the money that is invested into that side. But it is a case of, yes, I guess in many ways you've gotten used to them playing very good football. Maybe not sensational champagne football, but, good football at least. And now it just looks so disjointed. Sarri came out after the game against Brescia and said, if you're looking for a Napoli side in this Juve, if that style of play, that beautiful possession football, you're not going to get it because this is a different squad. And and that disappointed me because I'm like, if we are going to go for pragmatic ways, then why are we not with Allegri? But I'm not going to keep on banging on about this. I do want to talk about the fact that I'd like your opinion on how the side performed without the wonderful Ronaldo. And I mean, I just think now that Chiellini is back, I picture big things for us, but I'm not entirely sure whether it's ever going to click and they're ever going to pass the ball a little bit quicker than a tortoise would.
Yeah, it's worth, again, keep having this conversation as the season sort of reaches the business end. We criticise Juventus like we criticise Inter more, but they're top of the table.
Yes.
Right now, if the season ends today, Juventus win. So
yes.
There's always sort of that worth keeping in mind. But they weren't great against Brescia. It was a game defined by that early red card. That
Absolutely.
After that, I think you never got a sense that it could be anything other than a Juventus win. I think that Dybala had another good game, and there's a sort of interesting theory being floated at the moment that actually this is going to be the great Sarrian idea of the final part of the season, is to move Dybala into the middle of that 4-3-3, have Ronaldo and Douglas Costa on either side of him, and let him become what Dries Mertens was in his Napoli side, that false nine, the little guy in the middle. And it's a nice idea because it's got nostalgia in it and it calls back to something. In reality, Cristiano Ronaldo is not Lorenzo Insigne, so it's not going to look the same thing. Doesn't mean it can't work with Dybala in the middle. I think as a false nine, there's plenty to him that could make that work, and I'm not adverse to that being the tactical formation, but it's not going to be some callback to exactly what happened in Naples. I do want to, I hope this isn't too mischievous a question, Mina, but a lot of people were getting quite excited about a certain Emre Can in the Champions League this week. Emre Can, who wasn't even good enough to get on the Champions League list for Juventus. I have to ask you,
he did make one mistake in Dortmund that nearly gave away a game.
So you're not missing him.
No, I do miss him desperately. I mean, listen, I was never. I have to admit that even when Emre Can was at Juventus, I wasn't the guy with the woman that was like, oh yes, Emre Can, what a delightful footballer. But he is a very good midfielder. And when you look at what there is there now, from the aging Khedira and Matuidi to obviously the, for me, non-existent development of Rabiot that everyone keeps talking about, or Ramsey, or whatever it is, I would love Emre Can to be there for anything other than just to give us defensive strength. And he was magnificent for Dortmund. And there was just obviously a lot of tweets coming out on Twitter from Raf, our friend as well, Honigstein, who said along the lines of, wow, Juve's midfield must be amazing if they're all right with Emre Can being sold to Dortmund. But this is what worries me as well, is because, again, I mean, just Emre Can aside, Higuain is not Higuain at the moment. And I thought that he started off the season playing really wonderfully well. And I do like having a striker there, and I think it works well with Ronaldo. I want Dybala there. He's been terrific under Sarri. I have absolutely nothing to say on that, but I do wonder whether just switching them the whole time, it's obviously not harming Dybala as much as it's harming Higuain, but you can feel that he's losing his rhythm. And I thought that he's somebody that could do a lot. And I think he can do a lot because he bullies centre-backs, he creates space for the others. And with this new setup, it would mean there's no place for him now. And why are we continuing to rely on Douglas Costa, who's basically injured every 2 weeks, for 2 weeks? So I feel like he's never really around. And for all his brilliance and his acceleration, is he really a man to depend on tactically? I think this guy needs to be sold unless we can at least get some consistency from him. And is Bernardeschi ever going to come back? There's so many questions there, but I do feel sometimes with Sarri, while Dybala has improved, a lot of the side has worsened, and a lot of these players, from Bernardeschi, they're just not really growing to the levels that I had hoped. And now Pjanic got injured. I don't know. I'm worried. I'm really worried that they're not going to be able to pick up their tempo and start imposing their game to actually win against Lyon in the Champions League.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.